It's not really that important that, let's see. Okay. Yeah, there's that. Um, okay. A cold streak appearance. What does that mean? Anyone taking odds on a cold streak appearance from either Jimmy? I don't know what that means. Uh, I am once again working on some tech stuff, and I think I've got it mostly figured out. If I do, we'll be able to take calls here shortly, but I do have to figure out something. It's interesting because I'm trying to hook everything where if I'm doing a solo show, and I want to avoid having a producer, well, not necessarily avoid, but it's a lot to ask somebody. My solo shows are often going to be kind of last minute, just decide to do something. I have interesting things I want to take a look at, specifically about this gun that went off. But what I'm seeing is, and I think is happening. In fact, let me check something. If I lowered this dial, now you can't hear me. Okay. Okay. So I am correct on the way that this mix thing is working. I don't like that as much as what I wanted it to be, which is I wanted it to be a mix that is everything I want and more. So let me see if I hit this and I switch the output to chat. What I want to be able to do is have one stereo output that my board is responsible for mixing and output that to y'all, as opposed to having vmix, because vmix's mixing can be hit or miss. It'll be sad if I figure out how to make this work and it's better than what the other shows have to work with, because we don't actually have a way necessarily to easily do that with the show without first investing in getting everybody one of these boards, and then second in training everybody to use them. But let me see something. I think if I add, I think this one isn't going to work, but I just want to check. If I type in USB 1 main, yeah, that doesn't work. But I think if I come, oh, no, that's not even the one I wanted, actually. I want not USB 1 main. I want main multi-track. Okay. And cannot. What if I do Pro 2 chat? Now that's going to echo. So if I turn, I'm probably echoing for all of you right now. So I've just turned that one off to master as a singular one. That way I can send just that. But this, in theory, should be a full mix. And so now if I play, let's just say I play some music here. We've got the lines open if MAGA or somebody wants to call, and we may end up having to test the call system. Maybe we'll have one of y'all weirdos call in a second to make sure that it's working. But in theory, I should be creating a system by which everything will work better on solo streams. Okay, so my specific voice should go out to G, which is related to the B bus, as should the co-host, which is already set to do that. The co-host should not go to E because that would feed the co-host to themselves, but I should go to E. No, just my solo microphone, and that's what that should have been. This one, turn off the mix. Okay, if I right now turn on music in the background, yes, you do hear that. And how loud it is affected by my slider. Okay. So far, that's a victory. Now, if I add into the mixed, that I want people already calling into, I didn't even say yet that that's what we're doing, but that's okay. We probably will need that. If I add into the mix this, and I hit, that microphone is reading me, and I come to output settings, which this might get better because Owen actually has been working on like a specialty thing to do this shit. But if I make my output device instead virtual A. That puts that there. Oh, my back's killing me. If I hit ready, connect to show.
You are connected as the host. Welcome.
And how loud you hear
that? You are now in
that.
the host room and can manage your callers from the call-in studio web interface. Audio recording is on.
Yes. Okay. So that's all coming through. And that looks like it's good. Test my vocal range. I want an impression of Jimmy doing Trump's best impression of Jimmy Snow. You know, frankly, there was somebody who put in the comment section recently that I had the absolute worst. He said the worst Trump impression. But I said, frankly, I'd like to hear yours. What does your Trump impression sound like? Because while sometimes I sort of half-ass, he never goes, that was bad. Sometimes I do half-ass it, but sometimes I even do vocal warm-ups because I have to fry my voice a little bit beforehand. Okay, so the music situation, that's fixed. And actually, that's not even the music situation. That's input 2 situation is what that is. That's set up. Hearing them is set up. We're going to find out in a minute if they can hear me and if they're getting themselves fed back set up. Now, other things that this would need. I need the host to be able to hear the caller, but I don't want that to double up. Or co-host. If I have a co-host on, they're going to want to be able to hear the caller. So I need to go to add input. And then I need to go to audio input. And then that specifically, that audio is virtual A. So let's find virtual A on here. Virtual A is not appearing here very obviously. Application audio, is that? Oh, that's interesting. Application audio is interesting. I wonder if that would do the same thing. Is that a new vMix thing or did that come with my board? Okay, but in the meantime, system audio, USB 1 chat, USB 2, vMix audios. So interestingly, as an input, it's not actually bringing me what Windows is bringing me, which is strange. Virtual A is what it's called on Windows, but vMix isn't showing me virtual A. Is that, system, USB 1, USB chat, USB 2. Okay, USB 2 does need to be on, and I'm just going to quick rename that as, y'all are getting to see me like do production stuff. USB 2 source for co-hosts. And then that needs to not go out to the master because you guys will get that from my feed, but it does need to go to people on Zoom, and it might at times need to go out to callers. So may as well add that now. Okay, good. That's fine. Also, I don't need that to be headphone monitored at all. That's fine. I also don't need any of these to be headphone monitored at all, actually, because I have my direct monitor. So, this one that's just me, I need to change the name to just host audio for co-hosts and guests. All right. We're trying here, people. We're trying. Okay. I'm using a Rodecaster Pro 2 for the person who just asked in chat what board it is. And it has now virtual audio things. Okay. I'm going to, there's a person with a question about Mormonism. I'm going to leave in the chat. If somebody wants to call in just to help me test some things, it looks like Jess is in chat. Jess, if you feel like calling, go ahead and call in, and I'm going to test the call system with you as well as figure out the way this would route to my other people. Because it is weird that the audio input virtual A is not showing up. Okay, but it's showing up as an output. Virtual A as an output is showing up. So B is going there. it is technically that, but I wanted like a replication of it so that I can forward it to my guests. But this is suggesting that I can pull the application audio a different way, because these other things are outputs too that are, no, these are inputs from the board. But even so, that should have worked that way. Waiting for it to tell me if that is actually just calling in or not. System audio, system smart pads. I mean, I could change it to system roadcaster, but no, that is not ideal. Okay, combo 3 is good, is my instruments. So let me just make that instruments for co-host and guest. Bus E plus G, so that it's easy to read if somebody else, or if there's time goes on. So turn off that to master, because that's also going to be in my combo mix. Okay. First thing, Jess, do you hear me okay?
Yeah, I sure can, Jimmy.
Okay, and you're coming in through that mix. The problem is that mix, if I were to bring someone in on Zoom and pipe them in as a second guest, they're going to go, man, this is going to be a silly thing to figure out. Right now when I'm solo, it's fine. It's going to be if I do a solo stream and I want to bring a guest in. So maybe I don't even worry about that for the moment. You can hear me, I can hear you.
That is correct.
Say words again.
I'm saying words to Jimmy Snow.
Okay, I'll tell you when to say some more in a second, but I want to I want to figure out how I can, let's see, application. I want to see if this intercepts anything. Okay, go ahead and say words again.
Welcome to Jimmy Snow and the Line. And
okay, you can stop there. For that first line that Jess said, am I correct that it repeated for people? It sounded echoey. Was it echoey at first? That would be the goal. It shouldn't be echoey in a second when I have Jess try again. But I want to make sure. If you need additional audio testing, let me know. Yeah, I might, Meg. I might fuck with the Zoom stuff off stream after, and then we can start taking calls here in a second. Because there's a thing from the news also that I want to talk about, where I'm like, y'all know that I'm pro. I mean, in a way, I'm pro gun. Doesn't mean I'm pro Second Amendment, but I'm pro gun. And I think there's a clear story we need to talk about that shows. Okay, yes, they sounded echoey at first, or some people are saying no. Okay, it doesn't matter. So go ahead and say stuff now, Jess, and audience, you're going to be listening for whether or not Jess echoes.
If you're not watching the best show on the line, you should be watching Tackus.
Thank you for promoting a show as the best show on the line that isn't my show, because I happen to agree. Okay, so
love you.
That input needs to be bus C. The co-host needs to be bus B, and my solo voice, the one that is just me, that needs to be bus A. So now if I were to record, everybody's on their separate things when it comes time to record. So I need to hit save on this. So now I think we've solved everything we need. So Jess, I appreciate you very much. I can now let you go. But I think right now we're completely sorted out on solo. It'll only be guests that I still need to work out. So, all right, cool. Thank you so much, Jess.
You're welcome.
You're the best. All right. Let's see now. I still haven't set up, but I'm not going to set up my Elgato shortcuts. This was the thing I wanted to show you guys. Welcome, everybody. Sorry for the delay, but it really was best at first. Okay, now somebody's saying yes echoing, and right now there shouldn't have been echo. No echo. Sounds a little muffled, but no echo. Yeah, that's just the nature of making a phone call. But yeah. So now the cool thing is, like, if whatever audio I have, and this will only work on my solo show, so I don't want to see you all whining when it's like trying to happen on other shows. But in theory, if this was the caller, this music right here, I can be manually reactive with the mix. That is to say, I can be manually reactive with the mix. I can manually control quickly with a slider. Whether or not that's going to help their clipping, if it helps their clipping, then I'm in an awkward position because we've been trying to get the clipping thing under wraps for a while. If that somehow does it, now I'm in like a really awkward position. Thank you to the person who was calling in to help with audio, but we got the audio worked out. No worries there from now on as far as calls go. If you have a question for me that's relevant to the stuff we cover, we could do a little Q&A. Otherwise, I'm mostly looking for debate callers. Be very clear when you talk to the auto screener. And if you're calling in on that, but otherwise we'd like to be talking to people about debating. I gotta find this one. Let's see. British man. I'll pull up the thing. Let's see. Gun indict. I'm just gonna write gun indict because they're refusing to non-indict this guy. All time. Let's do past week. Okay. R/white people Twitter's got part of it. I'm not a fan of Destiny, but it looks like they've covered it. Okay, they've got the article in Destiny's Reddit. Yeah, this is the one I wanted to talk about. Let me show you guys this article. I need to add ad block to this thing, even though it's kind of like I don't want to use ad block anytime I'm on an independent website, but Yahoo News can get fucked. But I don't actually have ad block on this at the moment. All right, let me show you what I'm talking about here. MAGA, you can call 336-543-2101 if you want to talk with me, if you think you've got a challenge for me, you want to debate with me. Christians, theists, Mormons, whatever. We're not going for very long today because they are doing a show at 6 over on the line. Forrest and Erica are doing a bit of a call-out show for this guy, Jim Bob. Jim Bob is a person who talks a lot of shit on the internet. They are giving him the opportunity for a platform much bigger than his own to come and talk shit to their faces. We are not anticipating bravery from Jim Bob. Jim Bob does not strike us as a brave man. I think that Jim Bob is probably going to cower out. Let me make sure that my customization is set, that we are redirecting people automatically to that show. But yeah, the oh shit, where is that show? Mother fudger. Okay, I see Sunday's show. What the fuck is that show? That is today. Am I like tripping? Is that not today? YouTube. The line. I was almost certain. Okay. Scheduled for 2:13, 6 p.m. Okay, I found it. Okay, share, copy. That should go into this field. Boom. Okay, redirect is set up when we get finished. All right. Anyway, so this is the article that I'm talking about, the news story that I'm talking about. This is why, while I am pro-gun, because, I mean, I'll just steal it from Javon. I've tried to say it a whole lot in other ways, but Javon says it best. The workers should not be unarmed, especially like when you think about America. In America, who runs the government? It's not the people. We aren't a socialist economy. We're a capitalist economy, and that is overlapped with our government in such a way that the people with the money are the people who have the guns, right? And so, or not the guns, the power. So right now, it's a matter of like, in a way, not just saying anybody, not just your employer, to all employers, like, hey, there is a limit, and we can, whether you want to use the word defend ourselves, and we can oppose tyranny. So for reasons that the Second Amendment exists, as Javon says, I don't believe in disarming the workers. That said, clearly we got to talk about what kinds of arms we're talking about. And clearly we need to have laws and regulations around possessing those guns. And I feel like this article is the article that does like a really good job of making my point for me. So just to kind of show you all what we're talking about here. Can I get the fucking, I don't care about that side thing up there. Conservatives can get away with murder, even their own kids. Dad. Okay, I'm just going to go straight to the article, actually. Let's just go to that. This is the one from Yahoo News. Man, if you try to just zoom in, doesn't Chrome have a reader mode? Isn't that a thing? Am I tripping about that? I could have sworn there used to be a button up here that you could click and it would put you into reader mode. But I'm not seeing it. If it's here, I'm not seeing it. But where you get rid of all the distractions. Oh, cool. And you decided I just don't even want to be on the page I was just on. Let's just zoom in until the ads are gone. And of course, it's a fucking... The ads are never gone. All right. It's like... It's one of those things where it's like, you guys want to be like so upset and tell us not to use ad blocks. And on the one hand, I'm like, again, I don't want you to use ad block on YouTube because YouTube is supposed to be independent creators, right? And so when you use ad block on YouTube, it does hurt independent creators. But when you make the ad shit, and I know I want to be talking about guns, but when you make the ad shit this obstructive, where like nothing I can do, I don't even know what this little X button is doing over here, but if I click it, it takes me straight to Yahoo. Nothing I can do can get me away from ads, to the point where now these people are like, if you're going to make it this bad, you're the reason why ad blocks have become so popular. Because it's like, I can't get, let's not even pretend this is 3 paragraphs, because it is 3 sentences. So it's 3 separated sentences. You're not able to get a paragraph's worth of text before you get a new one. And so it's kind of like, fucking Christ. Yeah, maybe I should switch to Firefox. I think I have it on here. Especially for this shit. Let's make sure it doesn't try and do... Oh, okay. I don't actually have it installed yet on here. All right. A British woman who was shot dead by her father while visiting his home in Texas had argued with him about U.S. President Donald Trump earlier that day. An inquest is heard. Lucy Harrison from Washington in Cheshire was shot in the chest 10th of January 2025 in Prosper near Dallas. In my little area. What's weird is the first days I was seeing this, people kept saying she was 15, but anyway, she's 23. Police in the town investigated the 23-year-old's death as possible manslaughter, but no criminal case was brought against Chris Harrison after a grand jury in Collin County declined to indict him. Now, here's the deal. They've declined to indict him at all. Like, no consequences is what we're talking about. Could I easily move this to right here? And then let's make this, let's drag this over here. Once again, y'all are getting to see the recesses of my production mind. If I split this half and half, and then I just move this as much as it will. I don't need the call screening thing to be that big. Okay, great. Hey, MAGA, if you want to talk about guns or whatever the fuck else, God, socialism, phone number's right there, 336-543-2101, 336-543-2101. Every single show, it seems like people wait until way too late to finally start calling. You're going to want to call now, otherwise we're going to run out of time, because today won't be a long show, as we aren't going to encroach on the show they're doing over on the line. Anyway, inquest into Lucy Harrison's death opened earlier at Cheshire Coroner's Court, where her boyfriend Sam Littler described the big argument about Trump, who was preparing to be inaugurated for his second term. So listen, before we get ahead of ourselves, I should say, just so you guys know, she wasn't like, they aren't saying that argument had anything to do with it. So if people are like, well, if he killed her because of that, we don't know that it's because of that. It's weird that we're ruling out, a lot of them are ruling out the possibility. But whatever. And I'm going to show you a video here in a minute. But basically, the story he tells the grand jury and the police was that, yes, we had that fight earlier in the day. Guns had come up in a discussion at some point. But then later, this was from the boyfriend, that later that day, about half an hour before they were due to go to the airport, Lucy had been in the kitchen with when her father took her by the hand and led her into his ground floor bedroom. Littler said he heard a loud bang about 15 seconds later, and then Chris Harrison screamed for his wife Heather. Littler said, I remember running into the room, and Lucy was lying on the floor near the entrance to the bathroom, and Chris was just screaming, sort of nonsense. Statement from Chris Harrison said he and his daughter had been watching a news items on gun crime when he told her he had a gun and asked if she wanted to see it. They went to the bedroom so he could show her a Glock 9mm semi-automatic handgun, which he kept in the bedside cabinet. By the way, Glocks do not misfire very often. Like, there are guns that are known to misfire, but certainly just by like, I pulled it out to show you. By in it also, it says that was the day he had relapsed with alcoholism and had drank 500 milliliters of alcohol of Chardonnay, which is not, I mean, that's like half a bottle of wine. I don't know. Maybe if you've not been drinking for a long time, that would do it. But, and I remember at one point saying, anyway, okay. So this man has gotten 0 indictments. And I want to know, like, MAGA, people, you got to listen to the instructions when the auto screener is talking to you and answer all of the questions so that it's easier when we get started, because it's going to mean more time figuring out that shit. Let's see. Okay. Moment dad tells police he shot daughter, 23 dead. There's no audio. Let me turn the audio on. Y'all should hear this.
You explain.
No.
So what's that?
No, so she was just about to go to the airport.
Who is she to y'all?
That's our daughter.
Okay.
It's my daughter.
Okay.
And we were getting ready to go to the airport and we were talking about guns, and she said, "You got a gun?" I said, "Yes." I got it out and it just went off as she stood there. Like, as I pulled it out, it went off.
Okay.
It must have been, obviously.
Did you put the gun on the bed?
I put it on the bed straight away, yeah.
Where was it at?
It was in the bedside cabinet.
Okay, you have like a little, you just keep it in there?
In a locked box, Okay. And we took it out to look, and just as I picked it up, it went off.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so, that doesn't happen. As I picked it up, it went off. That doesn't happen. If you're going to have a gun, there's somebody in chat says, why was the gun even loaded? I don't even mind that there be a loaded gun. My guns right now are not loaded. It would be nothing to get them loaded. I mean, it's my assault rifle. I have it with the magazine is separate. I mean, it's even close. You could, as you pick it up, slide it in, and then obviously you have to use the bolt action to get the first round in. It's not bolt. I think bolt action or single shot. This one's semi-auto. So whatever that thing is called that you would call the bolt and other stuff. Maybe it's still called that. I don't know. It's been years since I've been a gun fetishist. At one point I would have been like, this guy doesn't even know guns. He doesn't know what that thing is called. Doesn't even know. Anyway, it's just been years past. They don't just go off. And a Glock 9mm certainly doesn't just go off. I remember reading in another one that he said he doesn't know. He doesn't remember whether or not his hand was on the trigger at the time, which is fucking crazy also. And this is my whole point. Like, listen, I want people to be armed, legitimately. I'm not in the like disarmament group. That's not the type of lefty I am. In fact, a lot of lefties just aren't. However, it should come with like, you should be able to demonstrate more than you have to demonstrate that you can operate a car. And this is an individual who I don't even understand how there's no indictment. A woman is dead as he admits to like, what would you even call it? Like negligence, to using the gun in a way that you would consider negligent. Like it is, you are not supposed to ever point the barrel of a gun at a person. You are not supposed to point even an empty gun at a person. It's, most people will call it, I think it's flagging. You flagged somebody. You're not even supposed to slide past it. Like you learn to point it. So even if it was an empty gun, he was using it. Even if he thought it was empty, he was still breaking like a cardinal rule. And then it would be about, they allow him to be loaded, but not chambered. Yeah, I see what you're saying. You literally cannot, the fact that you don't know, first of all, you shouldn't be keeping a round in the chamber. Even if you want to keep the magazine in the gun, you shouldn't have a round in the chamber. There are some people who are like, well, what if I'm like waking up and I have to grab it quick, which means you also have a situation in which it's not secured. He's claiming the gun was secured fine. Why do you have a round in the chamber? And as you're taking it out, why are you pointing it at a person? So if you want to say this wasn't murder, this wasn't, fucking first degree I mean, if you want to say that, whatever. Why is this guy not getting a manslaughter charge? Why is he not being indicted on the fact that he was using a gun the way you are not supposed to use it? And is it because in America, we say, yeah, but the rights will not be infringed means you also don't have to operate the gun safely. Is that where we are? Is that what the deal is? I don't know. It's just really, really frustrating where we can't even have a discussion about regulating firearms. We can't even say cool, it is your right to have a firearm if you show you know how to use it. And if they want to get real pedantic about it, well, it says thou shalt not be infringed. All right, great. Then if we're going to get this literalist, then the list of arms that applies to is the list of arms that it applied to that day. So you have the right to a musket, and you don't have to do safety shit for a fucking musket. You can wave it around, you can flag people, all that fucking shit. But when it comes to the new modern technology and shit, and apparently guns that are so sensitive that merely just pulling it out of a storage unit or a lockbox won't actually, be safe. And if you're just fuck off. Fuck off with this shit. Have your guns. But at the cost, that's so funny. The person hung up, right? It's about to bring them on. Go ahead and have your guns, but at the cost of proving you can use it. You have a right to travel. You have a right to exist in society, all this sort of shit. And yet, you have to do so much more to prove that you are capable of not carrying, but operating a vehicle. And yet you don't even have to just not point a fucking loaded weapon. That's not a lot. That, realistically, there should even be lesser charges of hey, I didn't get shot, but I can prove that a person pointed a loaded weapon at me. And that is endangering my life to some point. That should be at least a civil violation, should at least be a fine. Anyway, all right. We'll bring on James is calling in. It's not MAGA. MAGA, I am looking to talk to you, but James is calling in. First things first, James, what are your pronouns?
He, him.
Great. Oh, actually, let me start this over. I do want to make sure that the recording is on. Yeah, I'm just going to hit that. Okay, sorry. Once more, James, what are your pronouns?
He, him.
And James, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Florida.
How old are you, James?
I am 29.
James, in the last 2 elections, you had the option to vote for Trump or either Harris or Biden. I don't think you would have been eligible to vote in the election prior. In those 2 elections, who did you vote for?
Neither, both times.
Did you vote third party?
No, actually.
Did you vote at all?
No.
Did you vote in your local elections?
Yes.
So you went to the polls on election day, just didn't vote for president?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In 2024,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, no, in 2020, who did you primary for?
2020, I think my primary was Bernie, right? Yeah, Bernie.
Okay. And so then Bernie didn't get it. You're in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
which is in theory a swing state. Theoretically.
Not really. Not the way that the Republicans have set it up
Right.
over the last 20 years.
But you acknowledge that, as I say, in theory, it is a swing state with a sufficient
Right.
enough vote. It still can be done, but definitely the cards have been stacked against the people. There are other states that aren't swing states, as in it's a bunch of MAGA ass people. Florida has the ability to deliver enough votes for a Democrat to win. So
No, I think that's a mischaracterization of the state of Florida. The state of Florida was actually the home of like the gerrymandering scheme that you're seeing now being more widely used. If this
mhm.
was the year 2000, you would be correct. But since then, the way that things have played out, and even if you look, we're actually the ones that have those crazy voting maps from like DeSantis and stuff.
Mhm.
Like it is not, the infrastructure isn't here, and we are far deeper red than people realize with that super racist rural
Okay,
population.
so going with the infrastructure targeting, that's fine. I
Mhm.
don't know why you brought up gerrymandering. Is gerrymandering relevant to the general election of the president in your mind?
Yes, because of the gerrymandering, the Democratic infrastructure doesn't exist in most places where they could win. So there's not really like a high level of activity from the Democratic Party,
Okay, so you're
even
still
in
making
blue
it the
areas.
infrastructure, right? Right. You're saying
Right,
like it's basically where the gerrymandering is happening. They're using those maps to allocate resources. Okay, got it. So
right.
if I'm going to stick with it, is still in theory a swing state. There are still a lot of Democrats in very urban areas with higher populations. Those places will still have
Mhm.
infrastructure toward the general election. And it is close enough to a swing state that my contention is if you're in California and you want to protest vote against the Democrats, fine. Doesn't bug me. I would say Florida is still in the category of states that abstaining from voting. First of all, do you feel like you successfully protested? Do you feel like anybody's meeting your demands more now because you didn't vote?
No,
Right. So
no,
not
but I
voting
wouldn't
didn't
think it.
help.
Mhm.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, I don't think that voting, I think it's a non sequitur because I think that both of them like have the same issues, and specifically voting for the Democrats would be specifically against my interest.
Mm.
But let's be clear, obviously Republicans are worse than Democrats.
Which interests would
But I
it
think
be?
you agree with that too.
Of
Huh?
course I do. I don't like the Democrats. If anything, I
Yeah,
do think
of
that
course.
we have to. Hassan just is getting like raked over the coals right now with a clip he did. And I'm not a Hassan fanboy or anything. I like him fine. I like that
Hmm.
he's brought so many people to leftism, but I find his fans insufferable. And anyway, Hassan getting raked over the coals because he's saying in California, if Gavin
Hmm.
Newsom is the nominee, he'd probably vote third party. First of all, let's see if that's what actually happens. If it's him versus JD Vance, and it looks like JD Vance could pull it off, and we have to try and organize against. Obviously, minds can change. But second of all, they love to omit the part of the clip where he's like, if people are saying, I am the difference, that my platform is the difference of winning and losing, then why aren't you meeting my demands? They say it's super important that we get in line and that we're the problem. Well, then why aren't you meeting my demands if that's how you feel about it? And this is kind of where with the
That's an
non-voters.
incredibly good point, Jimmy.
Yep.
Especially considering like what we tend to do is we tend to blame voters for not voting for people instead of blaming the politicians themselves, whose
No,
job
not
it
at all.
is to actually earn the vote.
I don't know who we is in that scenario, but
So, mhm,
absolutely it's both of their faults. And Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are why Donald Trump is president today. And I hate them and I
mhm.
resent them for it. But that doesn't mean I can't talk and chew gum at the same time and go, I voted for Kamala Harris in the last election because it was the right thing to do of the options of things that possibly could have delivered us. When you say they have the
I
same
think that's a privileged
problems,
position.
great. And when you say that it is a well, it's a privileged position. My guy,
Mhm.
like where are we now? Would the country be in a better place right now if Kamala Harris had been president than we are right now with Donald Trump?
Marginally.
Great. Then you should have voted for the marginal difference. Would trans people
No,
be
because
as afraid for their
this
life?
is what I'm saying. Wait, I'll wait till you're done. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was saying that this is where the privileged position comes in, right? Like, for example, when we talk about voting for Biden, I understand that everybody realizes Trump is a bigger overt racist. That's clear. No one's arguing that. But what is true is Joe Biden gave more money to the police than Donald Trump. And in the end, more black people were actually killed by the police under Joe Biden in the years following Trump than under Trump. Now, this is what I mean when I'm saying you're asking specific groups of people that are affected by Democrat policies to vote specifically against their interests because, again, specifically, like I said, you're going to tell a mother who lost her son to the police that she has to vote for the monster that the monster that gave them more money.
James, are you
That,
white?
I think, is a little bit of a privileged position.
Are you white, James?
Huh?
Are you white?
No,
What? Do you mind sharing?
I'm black.
Okay. Well, James, here's what I know. The exact position you just gave seems pretty wild to me, since Kamala Harris actually did get gains with specifically the people you tried to say I'm trying to shame. Black women are who she actually gained with, the mothers of those sons. And somehow when they did the calculus, they still saw that she was going to be the better candidate. So as you're sitting here and saying it's a privileged take from me, I can also inverse that and go, it seems also like a pretty privileged take from you. As you mentioned earlier, your best interest would actually be served more by Donald Trump on a personal level. So your actual individual stake in this,
not my personal interest, the interest of a group of people. But
which
go
group
ahead.
of people?
Again, like there are specific groups of people that Biden harmed more than Donald Trump. Not many. And again, like when we want to say, like if we want to talk about generalities, we can talk about generally Donald Trump is far worse than Joe Biden. But specifically, like I just laid out with the situation with Black America, that is a fact. More people were killed by the police under Joe Biden than they were by Donald Trump, and that specifically is voting against our interests. Now,
Yeah,
if people choose
I think that's an interesting.
people choose to vote against their interests,
No.
I'm never going to stop them.
We're not going to pop past the point you made. Now I'm going to want some sources on this information, and also you're going to talk about the 4-year period of policing, the causal relationship. And we are going to have to keep in mind right now that people of color, including many black people, as they are targeting Somalians, that we currently have a situation that is going to look a lot different, I think. And if you're saying like there's, sure, death is bad and it's worse than like people getting sent to CCOT and concentration camps, therefore Donald Trump, even if he sends all black people to concentration camps, but less die.
Which is on the cards, by the way. That might happen.
Right. So let me ask you this. If 0 black people died under Trump, but 100% of them went to a concentration camp, but 1,000 people died under Biden, black people died under Biden, but none of them went to a concentration camp, which one was the worst situation?
Well, I mean, isn't the point of the concentration camp bad exactly because people die and are abused in said concentration camp?
I'd like just an answer to my question. Let's say none of them die. Let's say none of them die in the concentration camp. They're just treated the way we see, but they all survive. Is 1,000 dead, but mostly American, mostly people are intact? They're still in America. They still have rights to participate.
We're talking roughly around 40 million versus 1,000. You'd probably take the 1,000.
We're starting with the extremes. And so what I'm pointing out is just going with the numbers on deaths alone doesn't get you anywhere. And it also ignores, I assume you're literally talking about police deaths in his first term, right? Versus his second. During his first term, what was one of the reasons why crime and deaths from the police across the board went down? Was it something causal from Trump, or was it something Trump had zero anything to do with?
No, you can actually look at the numbers before COVID.
So we're not going to answer my question. So you believe that Donald Trump did something. So what is the causal link between
No,
Donald
I
Trump.
don't think that Donald Trump did any. I don't think Donald Trump did anything that caused police deaths to
So
be less
then what
than
is it you
Biden. I
believe
think
Biden did
something.
that caused more police deaths? Which policy do you believe
He
had a causal link to more
giving
police deaths?
$20 billion to the police. He's given the largest amount of money to the police than any president in history.
And so when you say police, you mean literally local law enforcement agencies, and you restrict it to that, I assume.
Correct.
That's insane to me, especially if we're talking about a president, where the president says, I don't like what Biden did either, and I believe in defunding the police. But the idea that because to local law enforcement agencies, he was better, when Donald Trump, $20 billion is going to be a drop in the bucket with all of the ICE stuff. And so you're saying the dollar evaluation of ICE does not compete to you at all, to the $20 billion that Biden, what was the name of that law, by the way?
It's a policy. I'd have to bring it up.
Okay. So you believe that the $20 billion,
would you like me to pull it
how
up?
many billions of dollars did Donald Trump give to the police in his first term?
Let's see, because it was actually like Joe Biden.
Okay, so if you're just looking it up, I'll just look it up because I think I can probably get to things a little bit faster.
Yeah, I
Do you
don't
actually
have
know
it
what
in
the
front of
number?
me right now.
Okay, so first of all, when you're saying there's a causal link between dollars because he failed to defund the police, is it that you don't know how much the do you know how much he gave?
Who, Joe Biden or
No,
Donald Trump?
Donald Trump.
Trump didn't have a specific spending bill that targeted police. Joe Biden
Okay,
did.
but overall Justice Department grant supports to state and local law enforcement rose by nearly $4 billion over Trump's term compared with the end of the, so literally like just what the DOJ was doing by default compared to Obama-Biden went up by $4 billion. It seems you're describing, first of all, it's not 20 is what I'm finding so far, a $15 billion ARPA state and local funds that were used specifically for public safety and violence prevention, hiring officers, overtime equipment that would have been part of the post-COVID era shit. Again, I don't agree with it, but you're saying the causal link between those dollars are what raised the number of specifically black men, or was it black people dying? Which category was it? Black men specifically, or black people?
Both, but black men.
Okay. Black men dying. And you're saying that $20 billion, there is nothing to compete with on Trump because you omit ICE spending as literally a similar, if not worse thing. Do you consider Somalians black?
They are. And listen, I'm not saying that ICE spending, I'm not omitting ICE spending whatsoever. I think ICE spending is inherently
well, it's way more than
$20
$20 billion. And if you're saying the causal link between deaths is police funding, I don't know. We're 1 year in and we've already passed the 80 billion mark on ICE spending. Yeah.
I mean, the point that I'm making it again is just people that choose not to vote against their own interests sometimes, given the history of what's gone on.
I don't agree that I don't agree that if you have two choices, you vote for the lesser evil. And I don't agree that, especially when it comes to Kamala Harris, who is, we fact checked this, not Joe Biden, voting for Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. I don't think you've demonstrated that it would have been more against your self-interest than if Biden.
And I don't agree that I don't agree that necessarily that electoral politics gets us anywhere with marginalized communities in the first place. But what I will say is, like I said, just like I don't shame people for voting for the Democrats, even though the Democrats do awful things, which we both agree with, and I know you're not a Democrat. But at the same time, I don't shame people for choosing not to vote or abstain voting, simply because, again, oftentimes I have to consider the fact that they are oftentimes asked to vote against their interests, and specifically for people that have harmed them in the past.
Yeah, I do. I shame people like crazy. And usually it goes like this. You voted for the Democrats? Ugh, that's gross and cringe, but I understand that was the lesser of two evils. What did you do between the two general elections to try and work toward a world where things got a little bit better? Where we had more
I create
choices, where we headed toward ranked
Yeah,
choice voting. How did
generally that's what I shame people for.
I
If
shame
your
those who
only form
didn't
of
vote more?
praxis if your only form of praxis is voting, then yeah, I'm not going to sit here and if you choose not to vote, then yeah, that's an issue. But if you do other things as forms of praxis, help out those communities that are affected by these policies, for example, feed people, clothe people, do things of that nature, then yeah, if you choose not to vote because you have some moral issue with casting your vote for a person that does thing X, Y, or Z, I'm okay with that as long as you're doing something to help the problem.
Yeah, I'm not. I see this as like you pass somebody on the road and you work
Hmm.
because you work at a charity place. You can see that they are like dried out and dehydrated. You have an extra bottle of water and you're like, I volunteer at a shelter, so I'm just going to not give them the bottle of water. To simplify it to a metaphor, uh I find that to be the case. Also, I've checked now 2 or 3 different sources. I'm going to have to hear yours.
Hmm.
Trump's first term and Biden's first term, as specifically police killings, the numbers are like within dozens of each other. They are really close to each other.
I see. I saw a difference of 1,000. Let me go ahead
Yeah, I'm going to need to
and
see
pull it
that.
up. I have to 1 second.
Which is interesting because if that is true, I'm hoping you're going to find me other
Are you
numbers.
looking
If it
now?
is true,
One of the things when you're looking at the sources, one of the sources that often comes up when you research this is the one where it shows police killings and omits police shootings. Right? I
well,
mean, it just
you
shows
offered that it
police
was
shootings. It doesn't
killings.
have police killing.
You
Huh?
offered killings, so I was looking up killings.
No. I said that in reverse. One of the sources shows police shootings versus police killings, and the total killings is higher, whereas the amount of shootings is relatively even. Give me 1 second to pull it
Okay,
up.
so it is your contention that there is a significant spike in killing, not a marginal spike, but a significant spike in killing in the Biden 4 years versus the Trump 4 years. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to take this to
Well, when you
Perplexity and see if it can find me the
define
exact thing.
what is marginal to you?
Uh, let's say under, we'll give marginal 10%, which by the way is extremely generous to Donald Trump because again, he had COVID. He had the COVID time where crime went way down as everybody was isolated, where in theory killing should be down. And if Biden and Trump were tied, that would actually speak badly for Trump. So even pulling a little bit ahead, I'm going to be generous and say like marginal outside of a 10% increase. More than a 10%
So I
increase.
believe. Let me take. So more than 10% is okay with you. If it's more than 10%, we're in that.
Then
And
more than
again,
10. I
we're
said less
talking
than 10.
about.
I'm saying you directly said there was a causal link between $20 billion being
Mm-hmm.
given from Joe Biden to police departments and a spike
Mm-hmm.
in killings. And my point is, if that spike is less than 10%, one, that's actually still bad for Trump because we know crime and police interactions went way down during COVID in the first place. So for him to be that close in general is still rough, as he should be. I mean, if you just thought about it, that was 25% of his term. If they were staying together, he should be 25% under. So for him to still be up there is actually kind of crazy. So the 10% number was $20 billion having a causal link. Under 10%, I don't have a way to just say, like, I don't know, that everything wasn't identical and one of them is going to win. You can get a room full of people, 100 people, and find causal links between all kinds of shit, or declare causal links between all kinds of shit that have nothing to do with each other. Like, how
Right.
many of you people
I
are
do think
into
you can also track. I think you can also track the increase in police spending, but specifically, we're talking about in with Donald Trump, we're talking about like 1,065. Some report 1,035. Some report 1,075 in 2016
That's roughly the
versus
numbers I
in
was
20
finding. Yeah. Well, so we'll just say
in
1,000 to
2021. We're
1,100.
seeing Yeah, we're seeing 1,100. We're seeing 1,150 to 1,170 and
Where are you
around
getting that
there,
number?
which
Because I'm not literally seeing that at all. I'm literally getting 1,000 to 1,100 for both people at every source I've checked so far. I'm going to go
because it
to.
goes.
All right.
I'm looking at the police violence report by mapping police
Okay,
violence.
great.
What
I'm
are
at
you looking
mapping.
at?
I'm literally. I just pulled up their website. I see police killed
hmm
1,201 people in 2025. So that's just Donald Trump's term, but that doesn't tell you necessarily just
Yep.
black people. But that's
Yep. 20.
overall. Police has killed 1,200 people in just 2025. So now I need to
And then
find
let
on
me
this
pull up
site
the specific
where
one
I
for
can find the
black
range.
men
And I'm
too.
sorry, it legitimately sounds like you're saying that you can tie a $20 billion and you haven't even demonstrated the causation, that the difference, that the spike. How do we know? Let me just ask you this, James.
No,
How
no,
are
no.
you
Time
certain?
out.
No,
Time
no, no,
out. I
no,
don't think.
no, you don't time
Go
me
ahead.
out. James, how have you
I
determined,
apologize.
how do
Go
you
ahead.
determine that the $20 billion is the cause of, even by your numbers, if it's 1,000 to 1,100 in Trump's term, and it's almost 1,200, not a range this time, but almost 1,200 in Biden's term, we are talking about something in the range of about 10%. How have you determined that that 10% was tied to the $10 billion and not first the massive decrease in crime during the COVID lockdowns and decrease in police interactions during the COVID lockdowns, and the fact that when things opened up, those actually also spiked for a while? How have you determined that the causation of those issues was from the $20 billion and not from the alternative hypothesis here is COVID or something else?
I haven't determined that it was specifically from the $20 billion.
Okay.
I'm
You should,
just
before you
noting.
declare that, then that is why it would have been against your self-interest. Because if you are voting.
No, it's against the no. That the reason why I'm declaring it's against my self-interest is because it's a president that directly gave the largest police spending bill in the entire history of the country to the group that is fundamentally against my self-interest.
I disagree.
It'd be like a Palestinian. It'd be like a Palestinian choosing not to vote for the Democrats because of their support of Gaza.
For the record, I
understand that.
suggested that Palestinians also vote for Democrats, and the amount that I am angry at them
And
is
you sound
much
very
lower.
consistent.
Is much lower than everybody else because of the situation they were in. But unfortunately, Kamala Harris, there would probably be less dead people. And now the way Netanyahu is getting absolutely empowered for his next stage of things, the way we're pretending we're in a ceasefire, despite the fact they keep violating it, but Donald Trump is the cheerleader who determines whether or not it's been violated or not. That shit's obviously like worse. And Kamala Harris is
Can I
at
present
least,
a counterpoint?
in a moment, Kamala Harris is at least bullyable. Kamala Harris is actually movable on the basis of whether or not most people in the country want her to change. Donald Trump just does his shit and then tells most people in the country how to feel. And a good enough number of them just go like, yeah, that's correct. Even though this is something we hated it when the Democrats did it. Literally, Donald Trump has gotten Republicans to speak against the interests of the Second Amendment. That shit is fucking crazy.
Let's point out that I do agree that Donald Trump is wild, but I think that point that you're making, that Kamala Harris is more malleable, is actually counterfactual to the fact that the reason she lost the race was exactly because she wasn't malleable, because the Democrats chose not to move towards their base. They continue. Matter of fact, the reason why, even though the Republicans are horrendously unpopular, one of the most unpopular parties in the history of the last 50 or 60 years, but the Democrats are only marginally beating them, is exactly because the Democrats are not listening to their base.
It's
The
funny
ones
because
that
there's
are
parts of
listening
what
to
you
their
just
base,
said I agree with, but the core of it is
mhm.
absolutely incorrect. To say that she's not
What do you mean?
malleable, if anything, the problem was she identified incorrectly where to shift toward. She was a
Right.
Medicare for all progressive back in the day. And for the general election, because she is malleable and listened to the wrong advisors and continued with the DNC style of here's where you make the shift to, she literally shifted just to the wrong direction. If I had gone from becoming a Mormon, I went from a Mormon to an atheist because I'm malleable, but my values for that malleability is I can be changed by good information. If I had instead become a
Uh-huh.
Muslim, it wouldn't be that I wasn't malleable. It would be that the values by which I
Y-
change are different.
y-
And her values
you're kind
are also
of
themselves malleable. She can be appealed to, and with her, there was a chance. Again, like I fucking
no,
hate
no,
when
no.
people call and make me
This is where
defend
we
Kamala
fundamentally
Harris.
disagree.
Great. Well, Donald Trump is the president, and fucking you're trying to say that the surge of ICE funding was the worst thing Biden did, and Donald Trump has in his first term way overspent Biden on policing.
Yes, I think Trump is worse.
Your omission of ICE funding notwithstanding.
Yeah, I think Trump is worse, but I think that what you're
Then you
actually
should have voted
pointing
for
out is
better.
that the Democrats I think what you're actually pointing out again, you notice Kamala Harris moved to the right, just like the Democrats always are malleable to the rightward push. They are never malleable to a leftward push.
Which
That is
democratic
exactly
method?
the
Which democratic method are you intending to utilize to try and shift us to a more progressive or socialist world?
by abstaining
No, no,
the
no.
vote and
Forget about
forcing.
that you
Mhm,
abstained. Forget about that. Or unless you're saying
mhm.
that is your method. Is your method to
Yeah,
abstain?
yeah, I think that the Democrats should be forced to actually negotiate with groups in order to get their votes. They can continue to try to get their votes from the right, which is the problem with Kamala Harris. They started with Bill Clinton, obviously, and even Obama, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But they're going to continue to lose. If they want to win, they will have to actually negotiate with those to the
Let's
left of
see
them,
how that
which
theory
they
plays
aren't
out.
doing.
Let's see how that theory plays out because now what I see is this theory that you have, and I don't think it works,
Hmm.
is now going to result in probably 2, if not 3 more reappointments, at least they'll be conservatives, on the Supreme Court. And now, when you talk about what they did in Florida, that's happening on a national level. Once again, Republicans turning on the Constitution because Donald Trump said
Right.
to. And now you want to tell me like the abstaining and forcing the Democrats. Well, we had something we could work with before. We had a potential for a Supreme Court that potentially had a foundational work, and we are getting closer and closer to no democratic means will be the way in which we get out of this. And maybe we've passed it already. Maybe with the election of Donald Trump this last time meant it won't be a democratic method that puts us back on track. I don't know. And I'm not, before somebody hits the report button advocating for anything specifically. But I suspect that you have this thought that abstaining has such power and the Democrats are going to come around. And I don't think it's the case. I actually think it is the case that we were going in a good direction or a better direction. More people are willing to call themselves socialists than ever. More people that are actually progressive, socialist adjacent, or just socialist straight up coded were getting into Congress, and that was expanding exponentially each election. And I think that we have put a stop to the momentum of that by letting the Republicans get back in and decide now not who you can vote for, but letting the elected people, the people who are voted in, pick who will vote for them. I think that just plainly naive, if I might put it simply.
I think that's an alternative telling of history, and I again agree that maybe you don't see the same things the way that I do. This is actually a very old argument that's gone back to like MLK talking about the effects of electoralism. But what I would point out is that in 2020, the centrist Dems actually won and were able to actually effectively quash out a lot of the progressive voices. It was actually the fact that they botched the election that everybody knew, like because Donald Donald Trump should be a candidate that anybody should be able to beat, that actually has inspired a new wave that's happening currently with a lot of much further left candidates having a wave of victory. It's exactly because
Yeah, this isn't the argument you're
centrist
saying. This is like an accelerationism light. Is that what you are,
it's
James?
not
Is
an
an accelerationist? Yes, it
accelerationism
is.
argument.
Yes, it is. You're literally
No.
saying by not playing by their terms and letting it get this bad, the response to how bad it is actually going to resort in an actual like leftist wave coming up. That's exactly what this is. This is an accelerationism
But
light.
the leftist wave is the leftist wave is already here, and by the Democrats not winning constituent votes, they're then forced to either pivot to the right or pivot to the left.
And you have more
that's
confidence than I
that's
do that
politics.
the leftist wave now will matter. That even if you are correct, more people will want to vote for a leftist this election, that even if that is what they want to do, that they will get to. And I am arguing that that confidence is misplaced because it honestly is a method of you coping for participating in the election of Donald Trump. Because if you were to admit that we may still not get it because of what Trump did and is doing to these elections, you will be partially responsible for participating in it by a flawed doctrine that you have.
No, that's not it at all. I don't actually have more confidence. I don't actually have very much confidence at all in electoralisms. I doubt very much that we move the direction that I want to move at the rate that I would like it to move. I don't think that happens. I think that the only way that we make any actual substantive changes is actually through community organizing and things on a grassroots level. Those things do tend to go up in times of peril, but I'm not saying that that means that we should inflict times of peril in order to cause said things to happen. But what I am pointing out is
make this your final point, James.
Vote.
We're going to move on. Go ahead. You get the
All right,
last
go
words
ahead.
here. No, you got the last words.
No, I was just saying, like, again, if you look through history, this is actually a center of like black thought around like MLK or Malcolm X or Frantz Fanon or Audre Lorde, that you won't tear down the master's house using the master's tools. And fundamentally, I don't believe in shaming people for not wanting to participate in a corrupt political system, even though I do agree that one outcome is fundamentally better than the other.
Okay. Thanks, James. All right. How much time do we have? We have 20 minutes if a MAGA person would like to call in. We were circling in that one. At the end of the day, I felt I was getting the same points repeated. The point that he called in on, he later admitted he didn't actually have a causal demonstration. Basically, he just was reading the stats and applying causation to it. So at that point, it's kind of like, why keep circling? James is going to protest by abstaining, and talk about black women and what they were losing, but not necessarily about what they've lost now by Donald Trump being president. I don't know. I don't know what to do with that. Black women, by the way, did come for Harris. They are one of the few demographics that actually increased from the time Biden was there. So I don't know. I don't know what to do with that at a certain point when you're circling a drain at that point. I said my part and the parts that I thought were wrong with what he was sharing, and that's where we are. We only have 20 minutes. If anybody MAGA leftist, if anybody on the right would like to debate for some of the more points that are directed, like if James wants to call back and discuss some of the more like very honed in specifically on black issues and black heroes and use what am I going to argue with the optics of arguing with a black guy about the intentions behind the words that MLK used are not optics I care to engage in. So if he wants to call in and talk to Javon or any of our black guests that we have in the future that can speak better to that. Yes, correct. 92% of black women voted for Kamala Harris. And I just hate it. I hate it when people call in and it's literally like, thanks for making me have to defend Biden. Thanks for making me have to defend. And if you're going to call in with a $20 billion causation argument about how many more black men died, Jesus Christ, it needs to be extremely apparent by the numbers that something happened. And it wasn't just, hey, in this period of time versus this period of time, one of the numbers is going to be bigger. Not necessarily with a direct causal link. Yeah, why are we even talking about this? The Dow is over $50,000. I'm going to scroll Reddit until we've got 20 minutes left. If anybody, MAGA, theist, anybody wants to call in and test. Unfortunately, 20 minutes gets us into that period where we may only be able to scratch the surface. And that's if you call in now. That phone number is on the screen, 336-543-2101. Oh, I forgot to do the name tag. My bad. And I think I left. Did I leave up this split screen that whole time? Once again, my bad. Let's see. What's kind of going on in the news stuff right now? What's rising? You're not two paychecks. You're 2 picks away from Snap. Stop defending billionaires. They're not defending you. I love it. I should have maybe actually read that instead of mumbled it out. Joe Rogan. I love how it becomes like big news when Joe Rogan's never liked the Epstein files. Joe Rogan's always worried about it. What I don't understand is he's always talking about, so apparently he said did they identify a date when this happened? Oh my fucking God. You guys are the reason. If you would stop doing this, people wouldn't feel the need to install ad blocks, and you'd probably ironically make more money because there would be so fewer people having to stop. But literally, I click this link. Let's just go to 100%. I'm just going to always yell about it. I click this link wanting to read it. I don't even see the title of the article yet. Like, you guys don't see that that's fucking crazy? The article is not actually on my screen except that it's obstructed. I see an ad for a couple of fucking cars. I see this fucking T-Mobile ad. If I get rid of that, I start to see it. I scroll down. There's the title. Now I'm greeted by more ads, whatever this video is. Is this video at least related in any way to this? No. This isn't even related. It's a completely different fucking thing than the audio version. And now I can finally start reading it. And literally, this is the title. This first sentence doesn't introduce more information at all. Like, fucking Christ, guys. Christ. No, guys, I know it's like I don't have a different call right now, but that doesn't mean I'm good. Tim, you got to call less often. This is getting crazy. You got co-host syndrome. He was the guy who last time was saying if you're on stolen land, you should leave. Tim, take a couple of days and get better. If at this point you just seem like you're acting like a reactionary. I know there's not a different call on right now and I can make money off of the clip, but I'm honestly not that much of a sellout. Call a different day once you've actually had some time to reflect on the shit we've already talked about. This is the one that I hate the most. During a conversation with Black Rifle Coffee co-chair Evan Hafer, a guest on his podcast that aired yesterday. This one scares the shit out of me. Literally demonic human beings that are running the world and don't give a fuck about human lives. Then why are you, like, the fact that Donald Trump called him and was like, we had a great call, we still like each other. The man obstructed the release of the Epstein files. Like, why are we not admitting that? Donald Trump obstructed the release. Not didn't release, as you guys like to say about why didn't Biden? To which there is an answer. You can call in if you want it. Why didn't Biden? Why didn't Biden? Why didn't Trump? And Trump ran on releasing. And you know what Biden didn't run on? Not that he shouldn't have. Not that it wouldn't have been a good thing for him to do and a good thing for us to hold to. But you know what he didn't do? He didn't run on releasing the Epstein files. Trump did. Then Trump started blackmailing people. This Epstein hoax, this Democratic hoax. And you even have the likes of Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert going in and searching the unredacted files and being like, yeah, they fucking lied to us. There are co-conspirators in here. They are protecting people. This is fucking disgusting. And we're just sitting there going like, fucking Joe Rogan, you're just sitting there and being like, yeah, but Kamala Harris didn't come on my show, so there's a limit to how nice I'm going to be. How much I'm going to say like this vote was wrong, because literally the pedophile ring they are blocking investigation. Oh man. Fragged Locust. There's not a warranty, but just because I feel like doing something nice today. If you send me an email with a picture of your broken line mug, I'll send you a link and replace it. I'm not doing that for everybody. I'm doing it for Fragged Locust. So Fragged Locust, you need a screenshot proving that you're Fragged Locust. Showing like the my profile screen on Google, a picture of the mug, and I'll send you back a link to get you a new one. Send it to contact, CONTACT, at qnaline.com is where you would send that email. Contact at qnaline.com. Yep. Lawrence Krauss, they were really, really good friends. And Krauss had actually reached out to Jeffrey Epstein to ask how to like basically deal with a woman who had accused him of sexual assault, who I believe, by the way. I believe that woman. And yeah, that's the kind of friend Jeffrey was. A great friend. Has Lawrence Krauss addressed this shit yet? Let's find out. Has Lawrence Krauss given an updated answer about his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein? I gotta know. Fuck Lawrence Krauss. I do like when some of these names are popping up in the Epstein files. They're like, ha, atheist Lawrence Krauss. Like, guys, we got rid of Lawrence Krauss forever ago. When we find out people are creeps, bye-bye. Krauss acknowledged the relationship and says he never hid that he knew and interacted with Epstein, mainly in the context of scientific meetings and funding. Well, let's not forget about those emails where you were asking how to handle an uppity woman. He told reporters that when facing his own misconduct allegations, he sought advice from virtually everyone he knew and that Epstein was one of the many people he contacted. I've read the emails. Let's not pretend this was an acquaintance. You guys were fucking chums, dude. But none of them were pertain to the terrible crimes, continues to deny the sexual misconduct, blah, blah, blah. By the way, there's another story that I kind of want to pull up here during, let's see, is there anything else? Definitely not a hoax, blah, 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 blah. That's the whole thing. That was the title was basically the story. You fucking pieces of shit. You pieces of shit. Okay. Let's see how hard it would be to find on Reddit. Let's see. Trump, Palm Springs police. I want to see if this is easy to find. MAGA, that phone number's there, 336-543-2101, 336-543-2101. If you want to call and debate, you can do so now. We have very little time, so you're going to want to do it now. We want those high qualities. I will hear you out, callers. Okay. So this is a thing that people are trying to go, proof. Donald Trump was the first guy. Okay? He was the first guy. So, fucking ads. Okay, guys, I'm just going to do it while I'm like, let me just ad block. You know what I'm going to get is literally the like, you're going to have to isn't there, I know there's some way that you can put ad block on. People are going to be judging my games right now. They're going to be like, oh my God, he plays. Actually, none of those are that crazy. I don't have anything weird on there. Oh, none of my hentai games are up there. Thank goodness. Nobody's going to know. All right. Ad block on. Now, if I come back to this stupid fucking beep. Oh, did I not? Of course, you have to click allow ads. Isn't there an archive way? Isn't there a thing you can do with an ad, with a article where you add like archive dot whatever and then you paste it? How is the way to get an article? That's not a sentence without ads. I gotta find out. You should play Overwatch. I played Overwatch in the old days, in the early days. You're not gonna like this. I was a Hanzo main. Chrome Edge. Okay, how on Chrome do I enable reader? because that's the question here. Chrome. There's not an icon on the right side of the bar of this ad anyway. Not ad, of this thing. Fucking Christ, this shit drives me crazy. Okay. Let's just download Firefox real quick. You're going to see some of the production shit. We're behind the scenes, people here. We're behind the scenes. It's happening. I had Firefox on another user on this device, but I guess it wasn't installed machine-wide. Anyway, they're wanting to talk about Wayback Machine. Put the link in a Wayback Machine because it doesn't archive the ads. Okay, let me see. Wayback. Yeah, let's find out. Wayback Machine. Boop, boop, boop. Maybe I need to just have this on a shortcut because it's driving me fucking crazy. Like, guys, again, I don't want to not support them. But they are an Ouroboros eating their own fucking tail. And then, don't I just click one of the timestamps? Access denied. You don't have it on the server. Reference, blah, 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 blah. Shut the fuck up. And give it to me anyway. Let's try that one. Let's see if this does it. Okay, hell yeah. This is what we're using. All right. This is the service. This is the article that they keep trying to quote here at us. That this is proof Donald Trump in the clear. Good guy. Good man. In July 2006, just as Jeffrey Epstein's criminal charges became public, Trump called then Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Ryder to tell him that Epstein's activities with teenage girls were well known in both New York and Palm Beach. Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone knows he's been doing this, Trump told Ryder, according to a 2019 FBI interview with Ryder contained in the Justice Department case files. The interview, conducted in October 2019 and not previously reported, has shed new light on Trump's involvement in early stages. So here's the deal, guys. First of all, they're pretending this is proof that Donald Trump called the police. That's who Ryder is. He was a Palm Beach sheriff. And they're saying proof that he was trying to work against it. You have a couple of problems here. One, there is no corroborating report. There is nothing. There is no paper trail, which is what the police have to do, that this 2006 call happened. But let's say it did happen. Donald Trump has been saying for the last several now years we're up to, I don't know, I kind of knew when people hung out with him, but I didn't really know nothing about him. I didn't know about these things he was up to. I know nothing about, Epstein. It's mostly a hoax. If the call happened, and in fact, this guy, this MAGA sheriff is to be believed, Donald Trump in 2006 says everyone knows he's doing this shit and that he's glad you're stopping him because everyone knows he's doing this. First of all, you don't have proof Donald Trump actually has been working against Jeffrey Epstein all of this time. You have a witness testimony of a MAGA sheriff from 2006. Oh, sorry, no. The testimony was 2019 about a call that allegedly happened in 2006. If this was a sexual assault, you'd be accusing her of saying it was for the money. You'd be saying like, oh, well, with that time period, we definitely can't. But here's the difference. With those sexual assault stories, they can confirm that people talked to their therapist, told people about it, wrote about it, journaled about it, emailed about it. That's what happens with those sexual assault things. There tends to be a paper trail when somebody accuses somebody of sexual assault from, 13 years prior of some kind. Sometimes there isn't that. Sometimes people go inward and they isolate to themselves. And unfortunately, it's one of those situations where you don't have the evidence basically to do anything about it. And the person often gets away with it. So you can only socially punish them if you trust the person who made the accusation. Why is something's lighting up in my... Anyway, there's another person in the house. They'll figure it out. That's what happens. This guy, Ryder, doesn't write a report, isn't telling other people about it. They literally have zero corroborating evidence from the FBI, who Ryder would have needed to escalate that call to, or an internal report. None of that exists. And yet they're saying, boom, proof that he did it. All right, proof he did it. Literally if he did, what he then said to the sheriff makes him look like shit. That's not good. If he's saying we've all known all along, and he's been saying now for years he never knew about any of it, that's not good, guys. That would be what you call, and we've double checked this, we fact checked it, bad. That would be bad. So it's like there's no version of this story. There's like if the story had just been like, yeah, I talked to him in 2006 because he trespassed Jeffrey Epstein, and he just called me and was like, "Hey, thanks for doing that, coming out. We like the police. We always want to thank the police. Thanks for coming out. I was tired of having this creep in my club. Thank you for coming and getting him." That would have been like all right, well, then I guess you just validated the story. He threw him out of Mar-a-Lago, even though there are allegedly reports that he was in Mar-a-Lago dates after that, but fine, you'd at least have that. But you don't. Like, you don't have that. Let's be so clear right now. You don't have proof of that. You have proof of a call where all Donald Trump has said, no, proof of a person claiming there was a call of a person saying that they talked to Donald Trump 13 years prior to when they were interviewed about it, now 20 years ago from today. And the thing he did say was bad. Let's see. All right, I'll pull you in real quick to explain to you that we now don't have time for this call. So first of all, the caller from the 289 area code. Wow, why am I echoing back?
Sorry, man. Can you hear me?
Yes, but I'm echoing back when I speak, so this isn't going to work. Am I on speaker?
Okay,
What is
my
going
bad,
on?
bro. No idea, bro. That it's been the same way for like a long time, like 2 months, and I haven't been able to figure it out.
All right, well, try again on a day. We only have 3 minutes left anyway. Try again on a different day. I don't know. Does this happen when you call everybody? It's a regular phone number.
It happened to me when I called somebody else from the States, right? I don't know why, because I usually use my Canadian number, wherever doesn't work. So I use, wait, hello?
Yeah. That's fine. I don't need the whole story anyway. You just keep working on it. See if you can get it fixed. Otherwise, this is not workable. Thank you.
All right, have a good day, man.
Goodness sakes. Yeah. Also, I just pulled down the dial. It doesn't fix the, unfortunately, it does not fix the clipping issue, even manually sending it to that. It is cool, though. We figured out some stuff. All right, guys, go head over to the line. They are about to start. Force is starting. There is redirect on. If somebody wants to go ahead and put a link, I'll do it actually real quick. Let's get you a link to their show as well. Go ahead and head over there. Forrest and Erica are going to be trying to get this guy, Jim Bob, to call in. I think they're going to be responding to some of the claims he's made, as well as taking other calls from creationists who want to debate and want to argue. I will be back here on Sunday with Javon, and then Ari on Tuesday, and I think Luxander on Thursday. Pretty standard week coming up. And if you want, you can go find me on Twitch and Instagram, where I'm going to be fucking with some other types of streams. I don't know actually whether a lot of the news streams will be happening here, except for with the whole call thing. It probably, I guess in that scenario, it probably would. But I don't know. I'm still deciding. But the next stage will be experimenting with getting something like this Twitch ready, so that if there's a time I don't want to take any calls, I can just go on and do news. I might even play games on there. Maybe I'll show you all my 7 days to die base. Maybe we'll do that. That's it for me. Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/calltheline. That's always good. And if you want to show, you want a song to go out on here? I'll just pick some random music here. Hey, did you know Donald Trump is a rapist and a pedophile? Okay, bye. That's your end show. See you, everybody. Go watch the other one, the other show. Go do that. Bye.